Welcome to Danelisk Adventures. Today I've brought us to the Forest Discovery Center, where we'll be riding a train and learning a lot about the forest and seeing how the history of, collecting lumber on Vancouver Island goes. So, yeah, let's get her going. And we're here today with Mark Williamson. Awesome. And would you look at that? All right, let's get going. Okay, here we are inside the Forest Museum. That's a cool looking truck. So this is a K26 1931 Model A Ford Light Delivery truck. Wow, it was an early workhorse for the Columbia Forest Service. And it was used in the 40s to 60s. And it was restored in 1982. That's pretty amazing. Holy cannoli. Look at that train. That is a lot of iron. Shawnigan Lake Lumber Company, number 2, 1910 25-ton Climax Class B2 truck. Built by the Climax Locomotive Works in Corry, Pennsylvania, this engine was purchased by the Shawnigan Lake Lumber Company. In 1922, the engine was sold to Satlin Lumber and later to Channel Logging, where it worked in the Cowichan Lake area. Involved in a dispute between Channel Logging and Cameron Lumber, the locomotive was held as collateral until abandoned in 1930. Salvaged and restored by Granger Taylor in 1970, number 2 was purchased by the province of BC in 1973 and placed on display at the BC FDC in 1980. Wow. So this laid abandoned for a long time and was restored in 1970. BC Forest Service. In 1912, the provincial government set up a branch dedicated to the management of British Columbia forests. At the time, most of the forestry work being done in the province was on small scale, but that was about to change. Industrial timber harvesting, which required heavy investments in capital and equipment, was arriving, and the government needed a regulatory body to ensure that the wealth in our forests was managed and protected. Forest Branch was set up as part of the Department of Lands. Over the years, the branch renamed the Forest Service in 1947, took responsibility for fighting forest fires, rehabilitating logged areas, and more. BC Forest Discovery Center has an extensive collection of BC Forest Service objects, photographs, and archival material. Wow. Forest Police. Washington Steam Skidder Model. This working model was built by Leo Vickman, who ran steam skidders at Sprout Lake, Wolaburnie, during the 1940s. The model, weighing in at 90 kilograms, took Leo over 10 years to complete. Steam skidders were used in BC from 1912 to 1954. Using a fixed skyline and a carriage, they lifted the logs clear of the ground, and could easily yard distances of 700 meters. The crew consisted of 18 men. That's pretty intense. Could you imagine doing that back then? Dangerous, dangerous. Would you look at that? A steam tractor. Who needs cars when you have steam? Little Jakey, 1897 Waterloo steam traction engine. Little Jakey was built by the Waterloo Manufacturing Company, a Canadian farm engine builder based in Waterloo, Ontario. This 2-speed, 9-horsepower wood-burning traction engine was bought new by Jim and Dan Ferguson for use in their Northern Ontario logging and sawmilling operation. The Ferguson brothers moved Little Jakey along with a small sawmill to Vancouver Island for harvesting timber on the newly built CNR line at Deerhome. Weighing in at 12 tons with a top speed of 2.74 miles per hour, Little Jakey and similar tractors were the earliest form of mechanical logging in BC. Little Jakey was purchased from Hugh Ferguson in 1954 by Jerry Welburn for $750. Well, adjust for inflation, but I still think he got it on a steal. That is just so beautiful.
Just, for those who don't know how boilers work, there's actually decent diagrams showing it, and you got a cut open here so that, you got the pipes that the water goes through. You're burning whatever you're burning in that housing there. you pump your water through, and it gets boiled into steam by the heat from whatever you're burning.
Huh.
Which it says here, it'd be quite a conversion to make, but it was coal-fired originally and then converted to oil. So this thing burned 2 different types of fuel in its service life.
Vertical steam boiler. This is one of the many different designs of vertical boilers developed over the 1800s and early 1900s. It was used as an auxiliary boiler on a yacht, which sank in Cowichan Bay in the 1960s. Originally coal-fired and later converted to oil, the boiler consisted of a single flue and vertical water tubes, pipes, which transferred the heat to the surrounding water. You can find a number of other vertical boilers on the BC Forest Discovery Center grounds, mostly associated with our steam donkeys. So like Mark was saying, this is a boiler that was converted to oil. These tubes were the water that would create steam that would go out. That hole there, where the exhaust from the either coal or oil would go out, that hole there. And it doesn't seem to be in good shape, but it is good to learn from. Holy smokes. So look at that. A 1948 Dodge American LaFrance pumper truck. It spent most of its life in a sawmill. Wow. A 1919 Republic. It was a log hauling truck. Solid rubber tires.
Well, wouldn't have to worry about getting a flat.
That's you know what? I think that's why they did it. 1922 white model 45. Again, solid rubber tires. And yeah, another logging truck.
This thing over here, the seat on that. Imagine spending a full workday sitting on that wooden plank.
Yeah, I would invest in some sort of a pillow. I'd like take a day's pay to buy a pillow. Wow. And you know what? With the right know-how, you could probably get all these running again. That's a really pretty truck. Wow. Jeez Louise. This is a 1949 Diamond T logging truck. Wow. Look at this beast. It's a 1912 man steam wagon, number 751. Wow. Disrepair, and it was donated to the museum in the 60s and restored by volunteers. Never underestimate the power of people working together to help each other out. Look at that thing. Right out of the Industrial Revolution. 1912 Ruston Proctor road roller. Yep. It was a steam-powered road roller. And it was a common sight. It wasn't too uncommon to see these. Steam power. The logging, sawmilling, and road building industries were transformed by steam power in the late 1800s. The steam locomotive allowed forest companies to access remote areas and haul out trainloads of lumber. At the same time, streets and highways all over British Columbia were under construction to improve travel. Man wagons like this one were used to dump trucks to transport gravel to road construction sites. Used as dump trucks. The Ruston Proctor roller was used to smooth and compact roads after construction was complete. Steam engines were so efficient that they replaced animal power and revolutionized industries around the world. Sources of inexpensive, high-quality coal in Vancouver made the adaptation of steam power easy and practical. This was an Austin Western road roller, built in 1912 by the Austin Manufacturing Company, Chicago, Illinois. It was purchased by the municipality of North Cowichan. This gas-powered road roller operated into the 1950s. Using a large flywheel, it required 2 men to start and was noted for being very noisy to operate. Oh, so this was actually oil-powered. Yeah, I can't imagine it would be the most comfortable machine to operate, but you know, better than no machine. Oh, here we go.
Lookout towers were used by the BC forces armies throughout the province and usually located in the tops of mountains and areas of high elevation. But now with satellite technology, they're no longer used. This station is originally located south of town and was moved here in the 1980s. The 100 of these stations were located throughout BC.
A Cle-Track and Bummer. The GIS gas-powered crawler was made by the Cleveland Tractor Company in the late 1920s. Before the introduction of the portable arch, the bummer was used to lift logs off the ground at one end while being skidded by the tractor. This configuration was used extensively in the 1930s. This team was abandoned near Harrison Lake and donated to the BC FTC in 1974. Seems like a lot of this lumber equipment just ends up abandoned and then found later on and refurbished. Fordson Tractor in 1920 Skagit Mac Little Tugger Donkey Yarder. Wow, that was a mouthful. This interesting combination used the power of the tractor to drive the yarder, which then hoisted the logs using a pulley and grappling system onto the waiting logging trucks for shipment. The Fordson tractor was manufactured in England, while the Little Tugger came from the Skagit Steelworks in Washington. This was the first gasoline combination used in the woods in 1922 and continued working until 1950 when it was acquired by Jerry Wilburn. Interesting. 1947 white logging truck and trailer. Typical of a post-war era truck, it was called a superpower logging truck when equipped with a Columbian tandem trailer. This white truck was used exclusively for hauling logs in the area of New Westminster and was purchased from J.K. Petrie in 1983 and brought to the BC FDC. '62 Pacific logging truck and trailer model SRDE. The Pacific, equipped with a rare Dutes air-cooled engine, was owned by Coast Powertrain in New Westminster and used for logging. Previously owned by R.J. Munro in Kelowna, BC, it was acquired from the BC Transportation Museum on May 16, 1991. Clyde 4-drum yarding donkey. A true workhorse of its day, this yarder, built in 1923, could skid logs from 4 different locations at speeds up to 1,000 feet per minute. Though considered to be very dangerous, the machine operated at the log dump in Cowichan Bay until it was taken out of service in 1977. Holy cannoli. Don't want to fall in there. Sequoia tree. This giant redwood was planted in 1983 after spending 4 years in a Canadian Pacific Forest Products greenhouse in Saanich, BC. It started as a seed taken from a cone of the famous General Sherman sequoia. That's amazing.
Jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the mighty diddy, we are on the way. Hey, sweet darling, let's go dance.
Old Faithful, a small 2-drum steam donkey that loaded logs for 50 years, until being retired in 1960. Old Faithful was given a brand new sled in 1972. Dole Beer Spool Donkey. Manufactured in San Francisco, this donkey came to Chemainus, BC in 1894. It was the first steam machine of its kind to log in British Columbia. This is a 400-year-old log. Holy cannoli. Feel like we're waiting to do a train robbery. Chainsaw exhibit? I think so. With 2 men, I handle anything in the woods. Me too, buddy. Me too. The evolution of the chainsaw. 1936. Andreas Stihl and Emil Dahmer, both of Germany, developed chainsaws suitable for cutting large trees. 1937. Stihl visited BC and made DJ Don Smith his North American distributor. 1937. Sid Smith and Jack Challenger of Blodell, Stewart, and Welch sent machinist Bob Shea to Germany to visit the steel factory. 38. First shipment of steel model BD saws arrived in Vancouver. They were assembled by Don Smith and sold. 1939. No more shipments arrived from Germany because of the Second World War. 1940. Smith manufactured the Timber Hog in Vancouver. Smith, with a group of local businessmen, formed industrial engineering. 1940. Slade formed Slade Engineering and produced the Forest King. This company was sold to Dick Burnett. IEL, Burnett, and Titan continued to make industrial saws during the 40s. During the war, steel was taken over by the government and made saws for the German army. Dan Arm of England made saws for the British Army and the Canadian Forestry Corps, who were running sawmills in Scotland. Mercury Diston made saws for the American Army, who used them to clear the jungle islands in the South Pacific and on the Alaskan Highway. 46. After the war, many companies like McCulloch, Homelight, and Mall entered the chainsaw market. There was a fierce competition to produce the best saw and capture the market. Many of these saws were tested locally. 48. Joe Cox invented the Oregon chipper chain. 50. Titan introduced a one-man saw using a chipper chain. This saw was popular. 52. Titan introduced the Sportsman, a consumer saw for casual use. 53. Tilston develops a diaphragm carburetor allowing saws to run on their sides. 56. IEL is sold to Outboard Marine in Moose, Ontario to make Pioneer saws. 59. Husqvarna of Sweden produces its first saw. 69. Partner of Sweden introduces shock absorber handles. 1980. Most saws are equipped with chain brakes. 1990. Steel of Germany and Husqvarna of Sweden now make most of the world's saw. And that is a quick history of the chainsaw. I did not know the chainsaw had such a crazy history. Blacksmith shop. Neato.
Hand crank drill press.
There you go. So these are some of the first mobile homes invented. These houses would house the workers and they could be transported on rail. That's pretty neat. Bunkhouses. Macmillan Blottle Ltd, Copper Canyon, 1935. These buildings were originally located 10 miles west of here at the Copper Canyon logging camp. Construction on skids, these long, narrow buildings were designed to be loaded onto railway flat cars and moved from site to site. Originally built for Victoria Lumber and Manufacturing Co., they were purchased by Jerry Welburn, founder of the BC Forest Discovery Center in 1956, and moved to the Cowichan Valley Forest Museum in 1964.
There's a bed for a patient. All the medical stuff in the cabinets.
Timekeeper's office and first aid house. Timekeeper kept track of the hours worked by the men and all the other accounting. All of the important documents and money were kept in here. It was the bookkeeper and cook who were constantly around the camp to see that all injuries were taken care of properly, major and minor. It's the fireplace. It's a big safe. It's like tank armor. Check out these trains. An apple tree. Blackberry break. Delicious. Geez, organic apples, organic blackberries. Train ride on a steam train, 14 bucks.
Good day.
Yeah,
Extra $5 got me a hot dog and a juice.
there you go. You went all out. Thank you for watching another Day in Leask adventure, and I will be very happy to bring you another adventure real soon.